Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, members, officers and viewers. The Scrutiny Committee meeting is being conducted on a hybrid basis in accordance with the Local Government and Elections Wales Act 2021, which will operate alongside the Council standing orders to ensure that we continue to take democratic decisions in an open and transparent manner. I would remind members that this meeting is being screened live to the public, and I request that you all switch off your cameras and mute your microphones when you're not speaking to ensure there is no unnecessary background noise and to help with the audio and visual quality of the broadcast. Council standing orders and code of conduct will apply at all times during the virtual meeting in the same way as at ordinary meetings, and members should conduct themselves accordingly. I also remind members to ensure that their chat function is switched on and to use that facility to indicate to me when they wish to speak on a particular item. Please do not speak until I invite you to do so. And remember to unmute your microphone and switch on your camera. As well as being broadcast live, a recorded version of this meeting will be uploaded onto the Council's website for public viewing as soon as possible after the meeting. Once translating of the proceedings can be provided on request. The images and sound recordings may also be used for training purposes within the Council. Thank you. Are there any apologies?
Yes, Chair, one from Miss Baldwin.
Okay. All members present? Yeah.
I think Councillor Horton's struggling to get in a minute, Chair, but he is trying.
Okay, thank you. Any declarations of interest? Okay. Minutes of the previous meeting. Starting on page 3, and we're looking for accuracy now. I'll take that as rising afterwards. Page 4, page 5, page 6, page 7, page 8, page 9, page 10, and page 11. We have an additional information risk reports. Is that part of the minutes?
Yes, that is part of the minutes, Chair.
Page 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. It's a tremendous set of minutes. That's Samantha, well done. Matters rising at least.
Thank you, Chair. I'm actually on page number on the printed minutes, but I think it's pages 4 and 5. The first item was about, and it was September 2022 when we first made a request for the university so they would come along and have a chat with us. And at the last meeting, the strategic director in July agreed to write to them. Can we have an update, please, on the latest?
Yeah, absolutely. So the last time I spoke to Reece and the ad about it, Reece is in the process of writing to the university. He may have even sent it by now. But he's on annual leave at the minute, so I couldn't say for certain. He's certainly becoming
He's not on annual leave. He's had a off-site meeting, but he has a minute.
There we go.
We're making progress.
Is it possible to have some of the letter, or is it in confidence?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, of course, thank you. And then the second one on the previous thing goes back 18 months about the training provision and some of the issues and problems we've had trying to use external websites and the NHS and trying to ensure that we have an easy system for both officer staff and members to use. Can I thank Tracy for stepping in and giving us a move yesterday. And essentially, it's just if we could have a bit of an update As we mentioned in the briefing, that the next phase of development is to establish a single logo on working with the SRS. So, do you have any idea of the sort of timescale involved in doing that? Or is that something I need to?
Yeah, can I just say that that is covered within the report? So at that stage, you can raise any questions you. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that statement is as that right now, so quite a lot of work
Yeah.
has been carried out. It certainly looks friendlier than it did when you would have last seen it. And perhaps we can update on that at a future point, perhaps for the next meeting, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know an exact time, but it is actively being worked upon by the NHS and SRS at the same. But it goes back and forward with querying that, I guess.
Well, maybe I can go into more detail.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Yeah, but it's actively being to.
Okay. So we're moving forward to page 17 now. Annual digit. Sorry, did anybody else have any other questions for the minutes? No? Okay, thank you. Moving forward to page 17 then. Annual digital report 22-23. And please be mindful of the guidance that we're asked to consider and report and provide feedback on past performance and future actions and decide whether it wishes to make any comments or recommendations to Cabinet. Okay? Yes, okay.
So a few things from me, and then I'll hand over to Mark Blezard to take us through a summary of the report, and then we'll take questions. This is not a statutory report, it's a report that we think is really important to show members and to monitor ourselves, our digital progress. It's the first time we're reporting against strategy. Members here saw the strategy last year when we were developing it. We brought some copies for the room today. We don't print them, it is a digital strategy, but we thought it's useful, I think, sometimes when you're looking at annual reports to understand the strategy that we're talking about. Here it is. That only came in through the year, so some of this report is kind of historic work that we were already doing, and we tried to really gear the report towards the strategy. Next year, we'll take the strategy themes and just report on them, so it'd be a kind of easier, frankly, for us and a tighter piece for you. So this is something of a hybrid, and thanks to the team for developing that. We've tried to look at last year's actions, and we've also looked at discussions previously about the information risk report that you've already seen. So today we're going to really focus on the digital side rather than the data and information side, because we've already covered some of that already. I think that's probably it from me. Mark, do you want to take us through that?
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. So yeah, I'm just going to briefly take you through kind of highlights of the executive summary that you have in the report itself. Obviously, feel free to ask questions as you go along. So, as Tracy mentioned, we now have a digital strategy. We had a previous one. But this is much more up to date, and we feel more appropriate for the organisation the age we're kind of in. It is an important step for the council supporting the corporate plan. As Tracy mentioned, we came here before to talk about the draft themes as they were at that point. They've now been confirmed. So the 4 themes are digital transformation, digital skills and inclusion, data and collaboration. As Tracy said, we'll do less of that in this meeting because of the kind of risk report that we do separately, and then digital infrastructure and connectivity. As Tracy also mentioned, that we're not starting from scratch. We're not all of a sudden starting a digital program, if you like. This work has been ongoing for a number of years, but there are things that we are developing that we probably weren't so focused on before. So I think it's safe to say that of those 4 themes, the digital transformation and data collaboration are ones where we're probably more developed than the other 2. The other 2 have been around digital skills and inclusion. Been doing work on that for a couple of years, but probably not an awful lot before then. Although it has to be said, there's been ongoing work across the council, not necessarily the digital team prior to that as well. Similarly, digital infrastructure and connectivity is less well developed as a theme than some of the others. As Tracy mentioned, we're trying to weave this into the kind of report that we did previously. So on reflection, from my perspective, I think it works relatively well in terms of, you know, those themes are fairly natural and we have worked at hands on those already. So it feels like it's a fairly natural development. There's various parties involved in this. So as Don mentioned in his introduction before, you know, the SRS are obviously a key part of this in terms of delivery of our IT. The digital team play an important part with the conduit to the SRS and other partners. But services play a really important part as well. You know, we're not doing this for the digital team or for the SRS, it's for services and ultimately the kind of service users for those services. So even though the digital strategy is being developed primarily by the digital team, it's not a digital strategy for the digital team, it's for the organisation and so forth. But yes, those are important parts in the jigsaw, if you like. Primary focus of this is not to focus on SRS performance, but it would be amiss for us not to talk about that because we've talked about it previously, and this is not hidden. It will be the report, a separate report, will go to the Partnerships Committee in October. So, but we will touch on that. So 3 of the 4 targets they've exceeded their targets, and they're all, of the 4 measures, they're all better than last year. So that's a positive sign. I think the SRS has matured over the years. You know, it's not necessarily our place to comment on how successful we think that is, but you know, we think there's been definite progress there. In terms of the progress against the strategy, as Tracy's mentioned, you know, it is a new strategy, but we have been doing work obviously in the past, so this is nothing new. Just a few highlights from the digital transformation theme. It was picked up significantly in our work for the development of the strategy that the website was, you know, not as good as it could and should be. So that is now progressing well. A company has been procured to assist us with development of a new website using a new tool called Local Government Drupal. It's used by something like 40 organisations across the UK. So that is a very much a positive thing. We're in the process of replacing the finance system. You know, it's a major system that has literally been in place for over 20 years. So that is a significant project. We expect a number of benefits as a result of that. We have had approval and we've started some work to roll out something called Microsoft Teams Phone. It essentially enables you to make calls from a device like this or a personal or work mobile with Microsoft Teams on. So that is going to be rolled out across the organisation. We have also been involved with adult services in relation to a smart home, which should be run in the library, which is basically the ability for people to come in and see the sort of assistive technologies that are available to them, you know, Lexas and similar type things, automatic curtain openers and closers and things like that. So that's a very welcome development. And I think in terms of that theme as a whole, what we're trying to do, and our cabinet member Dimitri Petrulli is especially keen on this, is to be more innovative. So, you know, we appreciate we've got finite resources, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be trying out new things and you know, pushing the boundaries of what we can do and making the most of that technology. So as I mentioned, the next theme is digital skills and inclusion. So we've had several cohorts of course called Get Connected, run by Digital Communities Wales. We probably hadn't been joined up previously, so we now understand that there's various adult community learning courses that are already provided. And for instance, there will be some courses from now on that are actually free to citizens. So, you know, there is work going on in that space already. There's more we need to do. You've got libraries already provide access to PCs. We've got free public Wi-Fi across about 50 locations in community buildings, free Wi-Fi on buses. So there is work that's happened in that, and there is, you know, that theme has, you know, work involved with it, but there is more to do on that, and I know that's been picked up at various meetings that we've had previously, especially around the digital inclusion piece. So we recognise that is still being important. I won't really talk too much about the data and collaboration theme, as we talked about. That's primarily covered in the information risk report, but we do cover it in here because it is part of the strategy. We do that in less detail. So Audit Wales acknowledged good progress against the use of data in terms of the intelligence hub, which is now the transformation intelligence team. You know, although they recognise that there is more work as an organisation we need to do, but that was a positive review by Audit Wales, and the Intelligence Hub had continued to provide support to various regional collaborations, and that's provided by the digital team as well in terms of information sharing and so forth. As I mentioned, the risk report is a separate report. There's a link in there to that. As members will be aware, we did provide some training for them in June with good attendance on the kind of data protection, information security area, and there are some more to be planned for that. So that's probably all I would cover on the data and collaboration. In terms of digital infrastructure and the connectivity, just to mention, this is not just about the city, this is about the council as well. So it's important that we have infrastructure that is fit for purpose. So we're in the process of implementing a bid that we made to Welsh Government called the Local Broadband Fund, which is to provide fibre and connectivity and other services in our 3 adult care homes. So that work is progressing well. And again, in terms of that innovation piece, you know, we did put in a bid, we were successful in funding, and we are hoping to make a positive difference as a result of that. We recognise that the digital infrastructure of the city is important in terms of people's access to fibre and appropriate fibre and at an appropriate cost. We don't have much control over that, but we try and encourage it where we can. So as well as some of the bigger providers, there are also a couple of smaller providers who are rolling out fibre in Newport, which is welcomed. Just in terms of the internal piece, if you like, so the SRS led a major project to move all partners to the new data centre, which is the Vantage Data Centre in Newport. So that is a significant milestone. So we have infrastructure that is shared across the SRS partners with appropriate security. So we've made a number of savings as a result of that. It's more economic in terms of we've made savings, but also it's greener in terms of going to a more fit for purpose kind of setup. The other final thing to mention is that we have moved 3 systems to the cloud. Again, we see a number of benefits in terms of the skills of the staff that are supporting that, and putting the responsibility on the suppliers for managing those systems whereby in-house we may struggle with some of those skills. So that's a very quick run through of the progress. Like I said, we've been doing work on these themes already, but now we're trying to move it to the strategy, and hopefully we've managed to do that, at least in part at this point. And as Tracy mentioned, from next year onwards, we'd hope to be better aligned.
Thank you very much. Before I open up to questions, let me just compliment you on your report, the structure of it. I think it's extremely clear. I like your document control at the beginning. I like your indexing, and I very much like the executive report you provided us. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, with the questions then, please. When you ask a question, if you can relate it to a page number, if at all possible, that's the page numbers on the digital report. If you can't, we get around it.
So I think this.
Thank you, Councillor James.
Page 11, your report, page 34. There's some questions about the website. There's a little bit about it, but I'm just wondering when we're going to get more information as to what it looks like. I'm wondering what the brief was, particularly in relation to accessibility and user experience. Was the agreed partner experience in UX design, for example, and in relation to that, and contrast, colourblind checking, we're going to get dark. And included in this paper strategy, and I'm not sure if there's a digital version of this strategy, there some other uses which perhaps don't contrast enough. And I'm wondering if those things aren't being routinely checked and if that formed work.
Tracy and I can do a combination on this. So in terms of the website, so there was a procurement process. So there was a report that was done previously that looked at the potential solutions we could use, which was commissioned by the SRS on our behalf. So that identified the local government Drupal solution as preferable to the one we currently use. So that report looked into various things like accessibility, usability, sustainability in terms of how easy it was to maintain as a solution. Skills for the end user side and managing it. So those things were put into that kind of report as kind of requirements. The procurement then sort of detailed those kind of requirements. I can't tell you the exact requirements, but certainly accessibility and the likes of that were pretty heavy in the scoring for that, as well as the kind of credentials, for want of a better description, of the people who were bidding. I was involved in that process. There was a lot of confidence in the wider sort of people who actually made those submissions. So it wasn't a question of one supplier could do it. There were 3 or 4 who were capable of doing that. So the one we ultimately chose called Zucha as an implementation partner. That's all kind of signed off, the work has started, so we can sort of share that with you. And I think we've been pleasantly surprised, positively surprised in terms of their experience and what they're bringing to the table. So I can't talk about specific, but in terms of that wider piece of being a partner to deliver a good website, we have a good degree of confidence so far. Tracy wants to add to that.
Yeah, it's a really important thing to pick up because our current website is compliant but not brilliant for accessibility. There's a whole range there, isn't there, of what's the minimum. Just to say on the paper strategy, it's not meant to be printed, but we wanted you to have it in front of you today. And actually, in terms of the strategy, one can pull it up as a PDF, but what we're aiming for are web pages within this construct, because we should be showing in our digital strategy how digital we are. So, people wouldn't be the way to go for that. We asked particularly about the colours and the accessibility there. So just to amplify that a little bit more from a comm point of view. So we know our current, not only is our current technology kind of not perfect for not just accessibility but usability, but also it's unable to get us to the place. And last year really was spent on a project trying to get us to that place. We can't, we have to create new technology. That's sort of very much. To mention that Drupal is open source, it's a community of, it's kind of a community of excellence that comes together, and it's at no cost. And the funding we're putting in is for expertise on that very basis, and not just for accessibility, for Welsh, for usability. Our website has far too many pages to be managed and kept up to date, has far too much content, should be rationalised, because accessibility is not just about, as you know, the colours, it's also about the user finding and so on and so on. And the examples we've seen, and maybe we share with the community afterwards some examples of Drupal websites. But the kind of, what I would say is the kinds of local government websites that you look at and you think, I quite like that, I wish we had one. It'll almost certainly, that's kind of what they look like. And Lisa moving to that and others as well. And we have picked, as Mark said, Zucha on the basis of their capabilities, the language also, accessibility and rationalisation. That was a long answer, wasn't it? We're very confident that it will be better than we've got now. That is quite a low bar to set, I think. But yeah, so we're very confident to be better than what we've got now. And this year we will see some of that. but that is the start of us progressing to a much better rationalised, well-maintained piece, which takes longer because there's things to do. That's a long answer, Switch.
Okay, you content?
Just while we're on the website, because I was very, very pleased to read this because the current website really does its job, doesn't it? I've done in some aspects of it that work quite well actually. Up a tip or report fly tipping and whatever. Many aspects of it work very, very well. I think I certainly use it a lot. I'm sure a lot of other people do, but it does. I mean, compared with some other councils' websites, that it really does look really old-fashioned, doesn't it, and fussy, and I look forward to having a really bright, fresh one that that really shows what the council's all about, and so that's great news. What all I would say is that I think an important part of the website as well is not just setting it up, is it, and then just the appearance of it, it's how it's managed, because there's nothing more irritating than putting something in there and you've promised to reply in 5 days, and of course after 5 days you don't get a reply, or you go on there and there's something that clearly hasn't been updated and is inaccurate. And I know it's a big job actually, keeping the site as complex as the council's up to date, but I would hope that aspect of it as well, the management of it post its appearance is something that gets the attention I think it needs.
Thanks. If I could just come in. So on that point, that's really important also, because it'd be really easy to polish this off and put it on the shelf, and then kind of 6 months later it's dusty, that kind of thing. We're also working with senior managers, so we've gone to senior management team. We've asked for every service to give us someone who can be an expert in the information, not the technology. What's relevant about their service, what do people want to know, and to ensure that services feel responsible for their own content and can update. So creating those connections really important. Yeah.
I think as well as that, just to come in, is sometimes the technology just is a barrier to some of this, and in terms of that we hope that the new platform will kind of remove some of those barriers and therefore make people have more of an interest in it as well, because it's kind of like, I can do that, I can update that, and I can do it quickly, and it looks good when it's there, so I think that, but yeah, a big part of it was just sustainability in the organisational sense, and that includes SRS as well, in terms of them being skilled to support it better than their current platform.
Just to come in for me, the point you make about how it interacts with the back office, so that time it takes, for someone to get back to you. There's a lot of work around the integration piece as well that'll take place around the scoping. So some of that stuff will be automated, so then it comes to the back office and they know how to reply there.
Okay, if I can just make myself clearer, I'm not saying that's a regular occurrence.
Oh, no, absolutely.
Because to be fair, but a lot of departments are really spot on, but when it occasionally does happen.
Yeah, and it does happen. But it's and that's part of the scoping. We'll do a part of the brief go back to the accessibility piece that we put in place to make sure we try and streamline and make it as most efficient as possible as well.
The cabinet member would like to come in on this, but I've also had an invitation from Councillor Morton. I'd like to speak on this. Councillor James would like to come back. So as long as it's on this one subject and it gives Councillor Fitzroy a fair chance of answering. Okay.
Yeah, my question is around the website as well, as in a lot more people using mobile devices for all their activities. Now I certainly use the web app quite a lot, and I actively encourage residents to use the web app as well, because I think it's a much cleaner way of doing it. Everything's there at hand. You do it when you're on site. How does it all fit together so that we can, knowing full well that unless you're sat in an office working, it's very unlikely that you're going to turn a PC on a daily basis, but you will look at your phone probably 4 or 5 hours of the day. So how does the the change in dynamic of the use of the mobile or the tablet, how does all that link in with ensuring that there's continuity between how the website performs on a mobile device and how that links in I would personally like to drive people more towards the app-based system, because I think it's a much better way of doing it with all the built-in of the built-in support that the phone gives, and how it all links together to make sure we're driving the individuals to the right sort of platform that they would use on more easily than booting up a laptop, booting up a PC, booting up a laptop. Because let's be honest, if we put barriers in front of people, i.e. I got to go home, I got to turn my computer on, I've got to wait for it to update. How does it all link in together so that we're driving people more toward to make it easier for people to do this?
Okay, thank you. Councillor James, do you want to come back on this one?
My question was actually about what Tracy said about the website, so do we have an answer to that first? Because I feel like that would be
Well,
first.
would it help, Councillor Fitzroy, if you ask your question and then he comes in after that?
Okay, sure. So Tracy mentioned that there are keepers of information in every service department, you know, so that they can let us know what the public want to see. But actually, in my experience, people who are very knowledgeable and very involved in the service area aren't actually always the best judges of what the public will want to see. They're very passionate about their subject and can quite often give far too much information. What consultation is going to be held with residents? How are we making sure we know what they want? So that's really cool.
And you did ask that earlier, actually. That was in your earlier question. I forgot. Do you want me to give it the kind of technical answer before the cabinet member?
Yes, please.
So you did ask that before. In terms of the current website development, and you may have seen us asking for people to kind of join this opinion forum almost in our website development, and please do if you're interested. So we've done a lot of work around that and around particular groups that the council talks to. I think we've talked previously at committee about the youth council and the over 50s bonds. And you're right, but only those technical specialists have the information, conversely. So the website content is owned by comms, and we will have these specialists that can help us. And it is important that they develop an understanding to what's needed. And I wouldn't want to mislead you to think we have already had that in place. So that is a new development, that piece of work. Regarding the app, this development is specifically about the website. Councillor, sorry. There is a customer services review, which I'm sure the cabinet member will comment on. It's sort of wider than this report, but there's also a piece of work about to be undertaken that reviews all the different ways that people contact and deal with and touch in any way the council, and that might be face-to-face or the app or the website, and how, or through tip requests, if you like, or whatever they look like, all of those different contact points, including the website, as a what do we need to do next piece of work. I don't know if you had anything technical on the app, or did I?
Just to mention, in a sense, there is definitely a place for the app, and that continues, as Tracy said, that is distinct from the website development because it is it's kind of different platform that should all join together. But in a sense, being able to see the website properly, you shouldn't need the app. So that's part of the design of the new website, and that's what comes with local government approval out of the box, so to speak, is that it will render properly and better than the current website on a mobile phone. So there's definitely a place, and I agree with Councillor Horton in terms of that there's a place for the app. That's not being redeveloped at the moment, but the website, like I said, the app shouldn't be the only reason to use a mobile phone. You know, the website should be able to render it properly, and again, that's part of the reason why it needs a major refresh. Because it may meet some basic standards, but it isn't the standards that we'd all kind of wish to be at.
it is part of the brief as well. So, you know, that little bottom rendering an element of it.
Troy is having the getting of this week. Is it on the same subject?
It is, yes. It was just a question about how the data that's being collected, will that show the devices that are being used to access the website? So, for example, if somebody's using a phone to access, will the data you're collating show what device they're using to access the websites?
I don't know the specifics of this platform, but that has been around for quite a long time, and those sort of analytics. So I am 99% sure that that would be part of the kind of brief of the new solution. And yes, as you were intimating, the majority of the traffic is via a phone these days. There's no doubt about that, and it's, you know, it's a high percentage. You know, these kind of tools allow you to do all sorts of things. They can tell where you've come from geographically and all that kind of stuff. You know, there may be a place for us to do more analysis on that in future. But yeah, all that kind of information is kind of recorded when there's a visit.
My only concern, and I made this mistake with myself when I did a little bit of web design stuff. I did everything on a PC or a laptop, and then when I tried to look at it on as a mobile device, it all just looked wrong. And what I'm conscious of is that if we put a lot of effort into making the website look perfect for a computer or for a large screen laptop, that we miss the fact. And obviously I don't want us to miss the fact, and it sounds like you're intimating that we're not going to miss the fact that the vast majority of people, be them young or old, will be looking at the websites via a mobile device.
Yeah, absolutely. And as Tracy mentioned before, we can point you to websites that use this technology that hopefully you can try out to see, you know, whether you get the sort of experience you would expect, and I'd like to think you would, very much so.
Because my only concern, and I'm guessing it's very high on your agenda as well, is that if it's not right, people won't use it. So, and they won't give us a second or a third chance. And as you know, the website is one of the areas that we get criticised on quite regularly. So I just want to make sure that we're dotting the I's and crossing the T's.
Okay, thank you. Right, Councillor Rheoli, thank you for attending this morning and your patience.
Oh, no, thank you for inviting me, and sorry for being slightly work beckoned. I just wanted to answer some. First, I just wanted to say I'm really heartened by the questions, because they're the questions I've been pestering Tracy and Mark for over a year now. So the big thing for me is about the website, but the critical piece is the integration piece, which has been alluded to, and all the systems eventually, not straight away, but speaking to each other. And part of that is collecting the right data to inform what is happening, what do citizens want, what are citizens looking for, what are they requesting, what are the demands of service, when are they demanding those services. So starting to partially answer Councillor James's point, which I think was an excellent point, is it's, yes, a piece of consulting the public, but also a kind of systematic learning within the system of understanding and seeing where citizens are going. And building on Councillor Horton's point about the app, for me as a cabinet member, it's got to be absolutely linked eventually, and they've all got to be speaking to each other, and that is the only way this council can systematically understand what is happening on the ground, what residents want, and what we need to provide, and when we need to provide it. So this is a big thing for me. This is I'm quite passionate about this, and I'm really pleased about this digital strategy, and I'm really pleased the committee are asking the right questions, because this piece will make us fit for the future. And I say this often, so forgive me, but we're the fastest, youngest growing city in Wales. We're behind the times. The website is not sufficient. It does what it needs to do, but it's not good enough, and we need to be best in class. That is my aim, and I know that's the officer's aim, and I know that's the scrutiny's aim. So I welcome all the scrutiny, and if people feel like over the next couple of weeks, months, years they can contribute more and ask us more questions about what about this, we need to do that, please feel free, because I think this is a team effort. We don't know everything, officers don't know everything, and clearly everyone in this committee does know other things that we need to be aware of. So if we're going to be top in class, we all need to work together, and I just really want to make that point.
Thank you.
Is that all about that?
Okay, moving on then. Do we have some more questions, please? Mr. Evans.
Just a few questions, a few comments. First of all, I do like the executive summary and the work reports being done. Just talking it from a member's point of view. I don't phone up, I don't, use them, but we've got very good response times at the moment. We've got a new ticketing system. Hampton did on Tuesday a relatively small problem of not being able to access council's planning documents. Was unable to be resolved. I've been told that I'll get a resolution by the 20th of September. In my mind, okay, it's not a major problem. I from somebody else's computer to go onto it. So I guess, and I'm sure it'll be resolved before that. I guess that's a long time for something which this particular person, very helpful, couldn't resolve. So I think, we should be looking, improving. It's a long time to wait for something if you want to look at a planning application. That's so I think that's one thing which, and similarly with member services, we've been going on for about a year now of great intentions. You have an email, you send it, somebody contacts you, you send it off, and you get back 5 different replies. You can't log it, so it should go straight through and then it comes back when it's been resolved. But some of them do not reply emails, some are at a different email address, and this has been going for a year and it's been raised at a very senior level. And it's creating a lot of additional work for staff. So, I am hoping that will become, as it was meant to be, that very straightforward system of somebody contacts you, you report it, and it comes back by the same email address. So you're not trying to, and please don't give me a reference number, I get about 15 a week, and I can't possibly log on to so-and-so. The SRS does a good one, so your call has now been completed, yes or no. That's great. And the second was about innovation when it comes to the training, and I go back to, I appreciate citizens on.
Councillor, I'll let you back in on the training, but can we resolve this first?
So if I, yep.
So can we break down the question into, is it an IT issue, or is it a lack of resources on the back end of the IT that are not able to give you the answer in appropriate time? Is that fair?
Well, I would argue it would save more time if things were,
of course.
And it would be more cost effective if they were resolved.
But where is the problem? That's what I'm asking.
I suppose, if I understand correctly, when SRS logged the word call logged by SRS, they will give a priority. And if there's a system down, then it's all hands on deck kind of thing. But in relation to something that is kind of like a request for a lesser problem in that priority scheme, then they will give it a kind of a longer time. As you said, you would expect them in most cases to be able to resolve it quicker than that. The kind of service level agreements are kind of agreed across the partners, so it's not just a Newport thing, it's across the SRS partnership. And part of the process as well is the digital team can escalate as necessary. So if there's something that isn't being treated with maybe the urgency it needs, then we can escalate. Now, that may not be an instance of that, but on the other hand, that is available to us as needed. And you can also go back to the SRS and say, actually, you treat it as a priority X.
I don't want to be treated any different than anybody else. Also, but from that point of view, if it's something which
But that is your prerogative to do that as a member, as a member of staff. So that's not a problem. If you are prepared to wait for that time, then also that is not a problem. But sometimes it looks worse than it is because it says it's a priority 3 or something like that, and it says it's got a long time to sort it. Whereas in most cases they would solve it quite a lot quicker than that.
They're trying to strike a balance basically in terms of managing expectations, but also managing the priority 1s and 2s in a timely manner that need to be addressed. Some of them might not be right. Sometimes they might assign a priority that's not quite right, and that's where Mark, I think, is alluding to, where you can follow up with SOS or escalate to us in digital. We can then do a bit more investigation, a bit more discretion, and sort of push it and elevate it up the chain if we need to.
It's more about, even if it's a low thing.
Yeah.
From the 6th of September to the 20th is a long time. Somebody's got an IT problem. And I think targeting any particular thing, it seems a long time. Because if somebody's got a problem, it might be a small problem, but
yeah.
So
okay. The reality is, so, and our criminal city services, the reality is that the IT responses are better than they've ever been, but people's reliance on IT and our need is running just as fast, isn't it? So it doesn't always feel like that. On the city services point, we'll take that back as feedback, because the city services members bit. On one hand, it will be picked up by that customer services contact review issue, because that is one of those points, and I guess we can't really answer that in the context of this, but I guess the example is saying not all parts of the council are being digital in the way this strategy looks like us to be.
Essentially, I'm not sure if all parts of the council are talking to each other. And if it's a system, somebody said the system isn't working, well, the system's wrong, because it's not difficult thing to. It shouldn't be difficult to have everybody using the same system and sending an email to something. But it said, "Oh, the system will go with that. It needs to go up there. No, it needs to go there. It will go back there, and it comes here. And then you get a response from that one, and then you get different response from a different systems."
That is explicitly in that's the MCS view, I think. Okay, yeah. So that is explicitly in the customer services view. The system we talk about it.
Okay, and a lot of it is about process, not necessarily system, isn't it? It's kind of like the system can probably do it. It's the system organisation, program to do what
system says no.
Okay. Yes, which page are you on? You know?
I'm sure I could find a random, but it's a generic point. There's a reference in here to training and.
But you're basically talking about harmonised training records, yeah?
Yeah, I mean it stems back to, and I use this example of we've raised a couple of meetings, social studies members on generic training, and sometimes we'll get an email from the council which is about fishing with PH. I can click on it, do it, and it's lovely, it's fine, it's done, and they know I've done it. Other times, get directed to the NHS website, and you've got to log in with a different password, which you inevitably forgot. You've got to try and search for the training course, which you inevitably should find. And so from a general point of view about time and encouraging people to use the system, training, members, officers, staff, everybody, I know the technology is out there that if you have training on carers or corporate parenting or something, here you are, here's it. Click on the link, access to it online, you've done it, and it's got a record of it. Which I don't think is unreasonable in the 21st century, but it's not linked with the NHS one, and your update said that we've been making that progress, so I guess it was from is it cost effective to use these? Is it the best waste of, best waste of staff time? But
Councillor Brown, do you want to say and deploy? Right, okay.
So my note says we've made lots of progress. It's unfortunately, I guess we didn't have that before. So from the point it was originally raised, which I think was a year ago, we're aware of the issues with the NHS website as well. So a range of things have happened. So just a quick scan across that. All local authorities in Wales engage with NHS Wales with their feedback, and since then we are now able to access the technical files underneath, which means that we can amend the training slightly and make it friendlier. As a consequence of that, because although we mustn't prioritise, I guess, money over, you know, usability and staff time, funding is important and we can use the funding for other things. So some other options were looked at. Almost every local authority in Wales stayed with the NHS on the basis that there would be improvements, and there have been. And some of those are ongoing. There's a number of things, isn't there? The usability of it. We do use other. We now have meta compliance, which is one of the things you're talking about with the phishing pH. We've also done a lot of work on staff records, and I will need to check on members actually, because my knowledge is not as up to date as it should be on that. But with staff, we've done a lot of work in making sure wherever you do your training, here, or sat on a chair over there, that comes into your record. We in the past have talked about mandatory training kind of a bit in a it's massive. What is mandatory training? So that there's reminders and refreshers about that. And a lot of work, as a member of staff actually had a reminder today to say you've lapsed on one of your mandatory trainings, as some other people do. As a new development, those records weren't really there before at the same robust level, which means, and I'm sure some people will say, well, I've done that training, but once we've collected that, from here, that will be updated in a much more methodical way, which sounds simple, but has been a massive piece of work behind that. So there's that element of it, the records keeping the engagement. The multiple different supplies of training, I think, is inevitable because some of the professional training, you've also got school training, you might get training as a governor on something, we need to collect it all to be. So that I think the mixed supply is probably inevitable, but it's how we collate that. There was something else you said that I'd forgotten, but I think the note demonstrates that, the single sign-up, sorry. So the big next thing, particularly for the NHS one, because you don't use it often, I have the same problem, and you go, what is this now? And then the moment that you had to do it in has passed, which got some minutes to do. That is the next trick to resolve that. That would be a really big step forward, but there are also further improvements ongoing, which I didn't put in the note, because I was trying to give a position as of now. We're aware of it.
Yeah, that's fine. But I mean, I think you're working on NHS to say they've got the worst IT system in the last IT system is.
Well, that's a nice low bar to step over as well, isn't it?
So this.
Yeah.
So only to be expected.
We're very aware of it.
And I guess, the question was, is we've got 5,000 legal training, for instance, and schools need to do it, governments need to do it, we need to do it. Then something like that, we've got enough purchasing power to get somebody to sort it out so that we can actually do the same.
And we did look at other projects, which I wasn't named, but as a Wales collective, they basically, the product is the product, as you say, and it is basic, but they have now given us access to school files, and I'm slightly off my mark there, guys, but they've given us the ability to change the files underneath so we can edit the content. And therefore, once you get through that sign-on thing, we can make it. Because there's also something about how warm it is and how interactive it is, even when you get there.
Yeah. No, I couldn't actually I gave up at the end because when they came up and said you're not entitled to enrol on this course or something, and I thought, well, I've been searching because it wasn't a straight link. So
we're very well, but I do need to check on member training records.
I guess the other piece is the content, whereby there is that facility to collaborate and to share content on that wider platform. And if we do our own, less likely. But as Tracy mentioned, some of the technical challenges.
And what I can say by way of an update, SOS colleagues and NHS colleagues and us in digital and HR are working on that single sign-on piece as well. There is work ongoing, so it's just trying to uncover and see what we can do in terms of delivering that, but it's ongoing for that.
Councillor Bright and then Councillor Allen.
Thank you. So page 20 of your report, on page 23, of the committees. In your introduction, Mark, you mentioned being moved over to Microsoft Teams phone solution. I just wondered if you could give a bit more detail on that. I just wondered, would it be default audio, or would the expectation be using Teams, using video, going from chats, and just sort of safeguard issues related to that?
Yeah. It's so so we're kind of familiar with the Teams feature now in terms of kind of chat and video call and etc. Which, although it's not totally limited to internal use, that's primarily what it's intended to be used for. Teams phone is, in a sense, a replacement for a traditional phone, in the sense that there's a published phone number, either an internal or an external number. So I want to ring somebody, somebody wants to ring me. So in that sense, it is a replacement for that, and essentially it will enable you to dial from a laptop or a personal work mobile phone. It's got Teams on it. It's just like another tab with the Teams interface. So on that basis, if you were ringing somebody externally, somebody's personal mobile or whatever, in a sense, the expectation there would be that it would probably be a voice call, in the sense of, and you're ringing some call centre somewhere, that could only be a voice call. But it gives a lot more flexibility in terms of what we have now. Is we have a system that is redirected to devices. So they'll either go to, well, some desk devices obviously still around the organisation, but most people have got a phone number that effectively is diverted to a personal or a work device. But the beauty of this is, you've got a work device, you can now use that device, and you don't need to have a handset of some description. But in terms of, it's interesting point about the safeguarding, in terms of an external call, then that will be limited to voice. In terms of internal calls, we haven't got a specific protocol on this to my knowledge, but generally the expectation is people would be on video, unless obviously we have instances where people have problems with the connectivity, and therefore turning off the video is kind of important. And I guess the safeguarding thing would be around, what is that call about, and is there any need for the video in that particular instance? It's not something that I'm personally aware of necessarily thinking about. There's an interesting point.
Thank you.
Councillor Rheoli.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah. I was interested in the comment from the Cabinet member. Can you hear me?
It's on, Chair. It's an issue with the screen.
Okay, please carry on.
Yeah. Are you okay?
We can't see you, don't we?
You can't see me?
Don't worry.
I'm switched on.
It's our end, not yours.
Okay, but can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I was saying, I was interested in the Cabinet member comments about the website. And I agree with him, although I think we have come a long way really with the website that we have currently, over sort of the past years. It's not one that actually, make you feel, well, that's the way, that's what I'm going to go. I'm going to go to the website and I'm going to try and solve my query or my problem or this or that or the other. So when you look at it, it says, report it, pay for it, request it, online services. It all sounds very good. And I think if you persevere with it, you can do all that. My question is really, and his comment was that, he's not happy with it. And I accept really that it is a learning process and a development process. Do we actually monitor that website and that particular aspect of it, because it can take a lot of the pressure of the staff in the control center? We had a meeting yesterday, a ward meeting, and one of the residents was really quite unhappy to note, for example, that the collections of his recycling and all that is done without due care, as it were, with people sort of throwing recyclables in the middle of the street. And sort of my first reaction was to him, well, you could have come to us with that, but you could have also reported it yourself. And really the reaction was, is not such an inviting or easy website. So my question is really, how do we monitor the effectiveness of the website? And have we identified, or are we going to identify the areas where we can actually work? So we can make it, the obvious thing for people to use, to report five to ping, to report sort of issues that they sometimes have to wait or get on the phone to the control center for it, or actually don't bother at all. How do we do that? Do we monitor that? And what is sort of our plans within this strategy to deal with that? Thank you.
You're going to try and take this one in, please.
Some of this, Chair, I don't know if the cabinet member wants to come in, but I think we've talked about the customer services review, and it's just that would be the exact type of thing that, obviously we've collected data in order to develop the website. Yes, we have done that, and we've worked on a review of the website, but actually this is much wider than that. This is about customer contact and how useful, how easy it is to use the app, the requests, and so on and so on. But we've engaged with a customer services review that's going to look at all customer contact kind of independently and give us further priorities to make those changes. So yes, in answer to the question.
Okay. Councillor Trosolwg, you want to come in on this?
I'll let McDad come back in, but I'm happy to address his point after.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. The only thing I was going to say is really, do we feel? I mean that's quite a good system for residents to actually engage with the council about all the kind of things where I mentioned about reporting issues or paying for it or this or that or the other. But do we feel that what we've got currently, if people were to persevere with it, is it really utilized as much or as efficiently as it could have been if it was more inviting, easier for people to actually, use it, if they have that perception? Like an app, I just go on it and I do that. It kind of feels cumbersome. So do we feel, how effective do we feel our current website is meeting that that sort of desire, if you like, to engage with the council?
Chair, I'm happy to take that.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think thank you for that question, Councillor Al-Nuami, and I think it sort of relates to Councillor Evans's point as well. And to answer your question directly, is it making it easy for citizens to engage with us and to report issues they face? No, it's not. It's sufficient, but it's not top best in class. And we want best in class. And I think you used the word perseverance, and I think Councillor Evans was sort of hinting that as well. If you engage with it, you trudge along, you keep dealing with all these emails. Is it good enough? No. And I'm very clear about that. And that is why we are engaging this customer complaints commission, which I've been pushing for a while, because we need to make sure all the systems are connected, that it's easy as possible for someone to report something. It gets sent to the relevant person, the person addresses it, and they address the citizen as quick as humanly possible. And that is our goal. Is that guaranteed every time for everyone now? No. Does it work? Yes. But we want it to be best in class, and we want to guarantee it addresses that citizen's concern or your concern or Councillor Evans' concern or query as quick as possible. It makes your life easier, it makes the citizen's life easier, and it makes the officer's life easier and this council's life easier. So no, but that's our direction.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We can see you again, Councillor Allen.
Okay, good. I'll be switching off now.
Switching off your lips on. Thank you. Another question, please. Councillor Cox.
It sort of, I think, touches onto what we've just been talking about, but I think it is something quite different. I was just thinking, it's on page 25, I've sort of picked this up from, and that is the issue of inclusion. That, I mean, obviously, I don't think anybody would dispute the more we push towards the use of digital solutions, that the more important it is we make sure that everybody has got the wherewithal to actually access the services of the council on the same basis as everybody else. And I mean, the council clearly recognises, and I think it was very positive in the report, it clearly recognised that potentially there are groups of people who are in danger maybe of being marginalised in this, that they've not got either the equipment or they've not got the technical wherewithal or whatever to actually access council services on the same basis as everybody else. And obviously you talk about the computers don't bite course, etc. And a big effort's being made, I can see, to address this issue. But what I think the point I want to make is that it's very much from our side, isn't it? We're sort of putting all this in front of people and saying these are opportunities, you can pick up, this will allow you to develop the skills and you take advantage of this. We're putting access points in libraries and other public places. So from the council point of view, all that effort is being made. But I mean, how successful is that being? I mean, are the beta, I suppose, that it comes down to monitoring. To what extent are these people actually taking advantage of these courses, the groups that we're targeting? And is that true across the board? I mean, for example, are we aware if the particular age groups are not taking advantage, or maybe is advantage being taken less by, because we're a very multicultural city. Newport has developed into a very multicultural city. So are we sure, for example, that all ethnic groups are taking equal advantage, or are some actually getting more disadvantaged as a consequence?
If I may, Chair, I'll start and then I'll give Sam the opportunity to maybe give some more detail. So I think the first point is, we've got a theme around skills and inclusion. And I think that recognises that it is important. As I said before, it's probably not as well developed as some of the other themes because it is a more recent thing. So there are quite a lot of challenges with that in terms of, we haven't got a massive resource within the organisation to go out and provide loads of courses and so forth. So a lot of it is being connected with other groups and so forth, working with other groups. So maybe Sam can tell a little bit more about some of the kind of groups we're working with, and for instance, things like Digital Communities Wales, which is a Welsh Government initiative, and so forth.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, just first to highlight our accreditation in terms of the Digital Inclusion Charter that we been recognised as committing to. And working, as Mark referred to, with Digital Communities Wales and being part of the Digital Inclusion Alliance Wales. So that recognises, as you said, identifying those areas where we need to concentrate and make sure there's available courses. In terms of the Get Connected course, there was a variety of venues who made sure that it was accessible to different age demographics and ethnicity, as you referred to, and the support that was required around that. Really valuable pieces of work that we've done are working within the council and making sure that teams are empowered to signpost and to offer the support as well. So, working with our community connectors, community development workers, so where somebody might highlight it, they now know where to signpost and to provide that support. And that's to be developed, isn't it, Mark? So that's something that we're working on. In addition, I think some people, you refer to the word course. And I don't think necessarily it always has to be a course, yeah. So, no, I do apologise. But I think it's so sort of, we have lots of really valuable events that take place across the city. So it's just using those opportunities where people might say, this cost of living events, it's really working closely with the teams that provide them so that we can make sure that people are attending to say, did you know that there's some support available here, or making them aware of the free public Wi-Fi. So so some people don't necessarily, they're learning, they're developing their digital skills, they're being digitally included, but not necessarily marketing it or promoting it as a course. So working with housing associations, copy moldings, and just providing sort of lower level digital skills. Yeah, that's answered.
Yeah, a lot of it joining up internally and externally, as I said, because like for instance, probably the work that the libraries do in terms of not the libraries, in terms of adult community learning, in terms of the courses they provide, they weren't necessarily uppermost in our mind in digital, but we've now been able to incorporate in this report, and again hopefully that gets the message out that these courses are there. Like I said, some of these courses are free, which I think is commendable in this day and age that we can do those sort of things, and again recognise the good work that's going in across the organisation. We quite often find out about stuff that's happening elsewhere in the organisation, and we're kind of catching up with some of that. So for instance, there's been stuff that's done in terms of housing, in terms of tablets in the past, and this kind of thing. Lots and lots of work being done in schools around the kind of inclusion piece, especially during the COVID period. So we're trying to kind of coordinate and manage it better than we did before. But ultimately, there are definitely some challenges that we need to try and address, and we won't do it alone.
No, I mean, what you've described, I'm delighted to hear that. Obviously, there's a lot of work being done, but I think part of my question also was that it is important, surely, to come to some conclusion as to whether those particular strategies are working and they're actually doing the job that they were intended to do, which is to get more people skilled up and prevent disadvantage and exclusion. And I just that bit of the question really was to do with, I suppose, in a nutshell, are the successes being evaluated there, and other people are providing, the council getting feedback in terms of, well, this one's working, this one's not, but this group is one that we're still struggling to actually make contact with.
That's a really good point, and I totally understand that, and I think in a sense this report and the strategy even sort of makes that a lot more visible than it would be otherwise, because for instance, if this work was just going on somewhere within the organisation, it wasn't exposed kind of politically and organisationally at this kind of level, then there wouldn't be the scrutiny on this work and whether it's been effective or not. I think at this point, I think the honest answer was probably we've had limited success this far in terms of it's relatively new. We're trying to join up things that maybe weren't joined up before. However, by recognising in the strategy and reporting annually, and also we report to the Office of the Digital Board, so we will be held to account for the themes that we put in there and the activities and the outcomes that we're trying to deliver as part of that. And ultimately, you as a group will also be able to comment and take a view on how successful or otherwise any of the kind of outcomes of that digital strategy have been. At this point, like I said, we've made good progress, but there's definitely more we can do. As I kind of introduced really the skills and inclusion and connectivity, and infrastructure piece are less developed, and we need to identify whether they are actually making a difference. The more we do, the more we expose, then hopefully we have this sort of snowball effect. And just joining up internally is really important, I'd say.
I think the aim is to try and gather stats and try and measure against them then as well. So at least we've got a bit of a benchmark then going forward.
Okay, well, thank you, Chair. Thank you.
Mr. Bright.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I just wondered how you integrate the strategy and how actually we're reaching every part of the council. I remember last year, BT split applications and changed their phone box and things to new hubs that are delivered now. Their monitoring system, free Wi-Fi for LCC, those applications that, and that also provided with your Internet of Things with data collection for monitoring. So I just want, it's a shame that application was turned down, but I just want how we make sure our digital strategy is being shared with everybody, and that's just one particular example.
Good question. Yeah, Karen.
The one thing I would say is that is the point of having a strategy, because it's really hard to develop a strategy and get that approved and come to scrutiny and then they go to all of the senior managers and check everything is in there. But in doing so, that's more important than the piece of paper. I know we don't have a piece of paper quite, but the more important thing is how we engage in developing that strategy and got everyone to buy into it. So that's what I would say the first part of this. I don't think we really had that before. We had a much older strategy for a different time. And we've done a real lot of work there. And we, as a consequence of that, now we have an officer group that represents all parts of the council who are responsible for taking the strategy forward. That of itself doesn't do it. These are big pieces that make a start. We work with other services on things like funding. So the smart home Sam's had a lot to do with social care. They actually had their own piece of work going on, but how can we support that? How can we bring the digital impact in? So I just wanted to set out that the developing the strategy was partly to do that. So that's one big step. Sorry.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think touching on that cultural piece, you know, there's a danger in a digital team, and you know, this happened in the technology industry, that we have a technology and we try and say, right, well, you need to use this, you need to use that, whatever. And even now we're guilty of that at certain stages. But in terms of the technologies out there, our role is to make people aware of what's out there. There's the cultural piece, the engagement piece. And then really it's for services to embrace it. So as Tracy mentioned, in terms of the smart home in the market is a good example. We were actually involved in some of the early discussions, but most of the work has been done by occupational therapy and social services, which is really what we want. You know, we want people to be thinking about digital within services rather than us coming and saying, we've got this really good thing, how would you like to use it? No, that didn't really work for us, you know. So that is a big part of the strategy, and also in terms of the role of the digital board is to enthuse about technology, to engage about technology. So we've reviewed the membership of that board. So we've got the wider membership, we've got more relevant membership. That won't fix everything because we need to get those messages out there. But the main thing is services need to embrace technology, and we need to kind of facilitate that. But we can't do it for all of them, if you know what I mean.
Just one more thing on that, I was thinking about the skills as well, because sometimes they don't know what they see, but also there's something about developing skills and confidence. So the people plan is kind of coming soon on one of your agendas. I think that'll have a digital strand to it. How do we make sure everyone is as skilled as they need to be, which isn't the same level for everybody, but confident to be able to look at solutions. And I guess there's the redevelopment of digital champions, to be honest with that. They're embedded in service areas, John?
Yeah, sure. So we've got digital champions. Digital champions help us with a variety of things. They sit within service areas. There might be a few per service area team. And the idea is we reach out to them with digital technology, some of the stuff we're working on, some of the stuff we're doing on the horizon. And then the idea is we also use them as a vehicle. So as Mark mentioned about services embracing, we also want it the other way around. So we want services to reach out to digital champions, come to us with problems, and then we can go and research, do some research and development to find a solution, a digital solution, to try and meet that need. Because sometimes we can say there's a tool and we're kind of making it fit something as opposed to giving a tool that solves a problem. So we're doing a lot of work as well with digital champions on that, and around some of the inclusion and training as well within.
The aim is to sort of kind of enhance that role and develop that role.
Yeah.
They've done a lot of work with testing of new things. So So we rolled out always on VPN for remote access previously. Seamless for people now because you log on and don't have to do anything extra. It's gone down well. When we were testing that, obviously we don't just push it out to a couple of thousand users. We tried with internal groups, and the Digital Champions is one of those. We've had some networking where we've worked with us on that. I think when we go into the piece that Tracy was mentioning in terms of that, have people got the skills, but what they need to do digitally, arguably in certain places not, and therefore Digital Champions can help with that. And is that working exactly the way we probably like it? Probably not yet. So there are opportunities for us to improve that. But that is definitely the intention, to improve that network.
Okay.
Can I ask one last question? Can I ask one last question?
Of course you can. Is it on this point or is it?
No, it's not actually. It's moving on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, come on.
I was interested in the collaboration that I think page 38, it refers to collaboration between the authority in Monmouthshire in running the intelligence hub, which I put it simply, correct me if I'm wrong, it is obviously a collection of mutually beneficial data, yes, which can be accessed to as part of our work on the council. I mean, really, the basic question I want you to ask is that I was interested to see that there was an element of collaboration in providing services between Monmouthshire and Newport. And I know there's another whole area of collaboration because SRS obviously provides for a range of local authorities. But I was wondering, in terms of this kind of arrangement, which is obviously, I'm assuming, is much more direct with Monmouthshire than rather going via, SRS. I wondered, is there further scope for that kind of working? And because obviously it has the potential attraction, obviously, of saving resources, saving money, which can be beneficially spent elsewhere. So basically, I suppose number one, I'm assuming this is saving money, and number two, is there further scope actually for that kind of work?
I take this. I know the cabinet member wants to come in. The intelligence hub is exactly that, but also the nuts and bolts underneath it is where we are unique. Other authorities have different people in different services managing systems to a things.
Yeah.
We've done a lot of work in bringing those together to achieve economies of scale. So we've already, if you like, inside in our own collaboration to make it more cost effective. And that also leads to a better sharing of data and a better collection of data. And this is, Monmouth is one example, and yes, we could do more, but I know the cabinet member wants to. Okay.
And if I could just say that you made an excellent point. It's as much political as it is technical, because it's something the Welsh Assembly government have been pushing for as collaboration.
I'm aware of that. I'm aware of that.
I'll not bring politics.
I hope I'm sounding very objective in this, but I've got my own views on this. I've been working local authorities for 30 odd years. I've got my own views on it.
So it's like it's been encouraged, but it's a political question more than a technical question. That's about it. That's all.
On that then, I think your question, Councillor Cox, was, is there further scope for further collaboration? My view, yes. Watch this space. And building on what Tracy has said, data is best when it's large data sets covering a wide plethora of populations and services. So the more data we can get into intelligence, the better we can understand that what the data is telling us for different communities at different times. And it enhances the ability for both Monmouthshire and us to deliver more effective services to citizens when they demand them. And so I feel this is not even, I think we share GIS. I'm sure Mark will correct me. I think we already share GIS data with Monmouthshire. I personally want that expanded to include many other data sets, and I wouldn't even limit it to Monmouthshire if you asked me, because the win here is quite considerable if everyone is like-minded and interested in collaborating for the best of their residents wherever they live.
Okay, thank you very much.
Well, without giving away my little view on this, I'm pleased with the answer.
Thank you. Anyone else? No?
Yes. Sorry, Chair. Just on that last point, I mean, really what Councillor Petroni was describing is not miles away from what actually used to happen between the 5 authorities, you know, the what we call the ex-Gwent councils, you know, when the county council ceased to exist and we had the unitary local government. So there were lots of forums and lots of arrangements for joint working between the 5 councils. Some included 5 councils, some included less than 5. But I think really, I think if the cabinet member want to expand that, I think it's something that, yeah, we should look at really. I would be supportive of that because, yeah, there are gains out of collaboration and less duplication. And, you know, at the end of the day, we're all serving sort of similar people.
Thank you. Unless he particularly wants to take this, it's perhaps a question for a different forum. Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions? Councillor Davis.
What concerns me is that quite a large Medi population are not, they haven't got mobile phones, they haven't got laptops or anything like that. I can see that but they can go to libraries and things like that, but a lot of them have the attitude they can't do it, so won't do it. And I was wondering what was being done to sort of include those members that, you know, that need to access it but won't access it.
I'll maybe start and then someone can add anything as necessary. I guess, you know, so we have the digital skills and inclusion as a theme in a sense, and as I said before, I think that hopefully is recognising that we see this as important, but you know, it is action that, you know, that counts rather than just a few words in the strategy. So I appreciate that. We put skills and inclusion together because sometimes it's because people maybe haven't got the technology for the technology, maybe sometimes they haven't got the skills to use the technology. Often it's because they haven't got both. So we recognise in the strategy, we know we need to do more. That is why we provide some of these courses, and we're reaching out. And as I said, it's encouraging the adult community to provide courses now for free. So yes, we need to make those messages, get those messages out there so people are more aware of it. Obviously, you know, it's their choice whether they wish to, because there will always be somebody so I just don't want to know about that. But I think there's probably also a lot that feel like I kind of like to know about it, but I'm a bit scared, or and again, as Sam mentioned before, it doesn't have to be formal training. It can be a little bit of advice, guidance. And I think, for instance, in the library service, there's been some initiative to look at their skills and potentially how they might help with, you know, members of the community might come and say, oh, how do I do this? So now there's a limited level to what we can do that, because otherwise we could have views out the door. But and maybe Sam could enhance that a little bit and you kind of explain that.
Yeah, I think just to amplify what Mark said, really, is just the support, the variety of support that our citizens may come across from different individuals that they come into contact with through the council. You know, and just supporting them in their journey to start and just empowering them with confidence, really. And as well, it's other organisations across the city, other partners, are looking at inclusion, you know, from a financial perspective in terms of, you know, accessing to banking, the NHS app that's being promoted at the moment. There was various sessions that were available to citizens. So I think it's just as you identified, just that little bit of confidence just to get started on their journey. And I think from the research that we did in developing the strategy, I think what was missing was that really low level digital skills support that was needed. So there was some courses that, you know, that referred to Microsoft products, for example, and things like that. Where actually they've labelled it now as computers don't bite, and it is that familiarising the devices, you know, not knowing how to use potentially set up an email. So really those lower level steps just to give them the confidence to maybe embark on further training in terms of digital skills. But yes, there's certainly lots of really valuable work we've identified across the organisation, just to name just a few sort of community development workers, community connectors, who are making sure that the systems they support are signposted on that journey to getting it to a higher level of digital skills.
I mean, you're right, Chair. It's as local councils, if you know we come across somebody like just been described, where's the best place for us to signpost them then?
Well, we can share the information with yourself, certainly.
Yeah, it's quite handy if, you know, obviously if we have somebody who's struggling to access kind of services, we can say, well, if I was you, I'm good at this, you know, you'll get on support.
Yeah, and also looking at it sort of a three-pronged approach. So you referred to devices and data. So we're working with an organisation called the Good Things Foundation, who work with the top network providers at the moment who are offering free data. So making sure that teams are aware that if a citizen requires access to data, it's not just the free public Wi-Fi. There are also free data SIM cards available. So that's been really useful for certain teams in social services. So when they're handing out a device, they've got the wraparound of also having a period of time with the data and then signposting the digital skills provision that we currently have in the city, which obviously we're looking to expand as well. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry, Mr. Trimble, when you started to answer your question, I missed the first part of it. Did you suggest libraries or?
There are in the hubs and the libraries, there's information that can be shared about digital inclusion and digital skills activities. Our adult community learning the main venue is St Julian's, I believe, is the access there, and they are looking at other venues across the city to provide the digital skills training as well. Yeah.
And the staff are very helpful.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's Speedford, not St Julian's. Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions? No, if I might then, I've got one question. So by 26, 27, where are we going to be? You know, the end of the council is being partially answered today, but do we have a vision for where we're going to be by 2027?
I think the short answer is the kind of outcomes in here in terms of we did a lot of work kind of up front in terms of what outcomes and this is working with kind of the public and people internally in terms of what our vision should be. And we've actually got a lot of outcomes in here, which is quite detailed. So it's not just we're going to boldly go where no man has gone before. You know, we have various things that we're trying to achieve. So, you know, ultimately this is how we get kind of measured in terms of are we delivering the outcomes in here. They're pretty broad and they're pretty kind of optimistic and challenging. So, but ultimately that I think is the measure. You know, do we deliver the outcomes that we talk about here? Have we addressed those 4 themes? Have we delivered the outcomes that we've kind of put in here? And responding to, you know, this has been developed over a period of time. You know, how do things change? What new comes in here? So, okay, when we redevelop the website, you know, what do we do, etc. So it can't be just seen as, you know, the majority of it is going to be that, but it's not just about that in terms of new technologies coming along, new challenges. You know, if we'd have done this before COVID and COVID had come along, then all of a sudden we've been challenged in terms of, you know, hybrid meetings, remote working, all sorts of things. So we need to respond to all those things. But in large part, it's not associated with that.
Thank you very much. And officers, thank you for your time.
Thank you. It's really helpful feedback.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you. Okay. So back to what we were asked to consider. Are we content with the progress? And are we content with going in the right direction? Yep. Any exceptions to that?
It's okay, Joe. Do you want me to just read out what I've noted about our comments and recommendations?
Yeah,
So, no recommendations as such, as more comments. Obviously, the committee welcomes the style of the report and the version control. And I think Tracy McKim said about how the report will be streamlined in future versions, just to focus on the themes. The other two comments I have are wanting to highlight the importance of developing the website with inclusion and accessibility in mind, and highlight the importance for the accessibility of training for staff. That's the comments I've got. The two actions arising from our discussion is Tracy providing the examples of the websites within that network that we're aiming to be like, hopefully, and the sharing of signposts and resources for yourselves so you can help improve digital inclusion for your residents. Is there anything I've missed or anything you want me to clarify? Are you happy? I'm happy.
Can I raise a?
please.
Yeah. We're not a performance monitoring scrutiny. I know there is one, another one that does that. I think it would be useful to have some kind of comment or metric, you know, when they do the service plans and the performance monitoring about how effective the website is. It kind of then inform, you know, how well the strategy is getting on, sort of addressing the issues that the cabinet member outlined, and I commented on, and maybe other people spoke about it as well. So I think it would be useful for that performance to be, you know, to be at least commented on.
Yeah. Well, with your permission, we'll make a note for that to be addressed in next year's performance, which will come to us.
Okay.
Probably in July, isn't it?
For this report, the digital strategy?
No, for the performance.
So, sorry, just let me clarify for myself. Councillor Alvini is asking for the, sorry, my brain's got all in the middle. You're asking for the
performance matrix.
Performance.
Well, either for a metric, you know, we leave that to the officers really to sort of define, or a statement about how effective is the website in terms of meeting the needs, in terms of, you know, delivering what it is intended to do, really. And I mean the main website for the council.
Within the service area reviews, is that what you're asking for, councillor? Frozen. Yeah. Sorry, councillor Alvini, is that what you're asking for within the service area reviews?
Yeah, I think I'm only sort of, you know, taking what the cabinet member has said. He himself said he isn't happy about the website, that the strategy will be addressing, developing that website to be more fit for purpose. But I mean, you can do that by sort of knowing how good your present product is doing, isn't it?
Well, we hope by next July, excuse me, our present product won't be what it is, and it'll already have advanced somewhat.
Yeah. Yeah,
So a metric or a statement about the effectiveness of the website within the service area reviews to show what it's
Yeah.
doing, what it's doing for services.
yeah. I was mindful though, there is a performance scrutiny which probably look at that as well, doesn't it?
Which looks at the effectiveness of.
The infrastructure, I suppose.
It might very well be. I'm not too sure off the top of my head where it would fall. Certainly, I believe it would fall into place in corporate, but I will double check that. And
Okay.
so,
Yeah.
so let me just clarify. You're not asking for the metrical statement in every service area of plan. You're asking for it to be looked at under the relevant service area.
Yeah.
Right. Okay,
So-
I'm with you. Sorry.
So with your permission, we can take that out of our answer to the digital report and ask Samantha to include it in the scrutiny report of next month where she's required and when.
It's separate.
Okay, so it won't appear within this report. It will appear within the scrutiny report for next month. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And then you'll see where officers believe that question should be properly raised, yeah? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Right, so continue please, Lisa.
Still with me, if it's okay, Chair, I'll move on to the last item, the scrutiny advisory reports.
So just to sum up, we consent the annual digital report and the two questions we were asked to consider. Yeah, thank you. Right, Samantha, please.
Thank you. So if we start with the action sheet, you'll see that what's marked down is mostly complete. Obviously, we've had an update about the Leicester University, so brilliant news. There are a few things that are not in the action sheet from the climate change report that I have chased, and as soon as I get those answers back, they'll come straight to you. Looking at then the forward work programme, there are two changes to the forward work programme. Two items have been asked to be added to it. Firstly, for our December meeting, so alongside the scrutiny annual review on the 1st of December, the people and culture plan will be coming to us from Tracy McKim. And then for March's meeting, which was already open, it would be a report on the asset plan coming to us. Chair did raise the question for me to ask, why is it coming to overview and not performance of place and people? It just falls under our terms of reference for policy reviews, so that's the only reason why. But that's all from me. And yearly updates I've got.
Any questions?
Got so much to look forward to, Sean.
You know how to live the highway.
We do.
Thank you all for your attendance this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.